Chapter 14. The year 2029. Josh's house. One fresh early morning, a persisting ringtone cracked the silence that seemed to be dwelling in this spacious, elegant house. It was a modern home with its simple yet well-crafted furniture. Many accessories had been distributed carefully in every corner, mixed with some vintage carpets and authentic articles. In the big living room where that phone was still ringing, everything seemed to be so organized, tidy, spotless, and well taken care of, except for some strewn-about toys that looked like no one was using them for a long time. It was unmistakable that the owner of the place was taking care of their cleanliness without having to move or at least rearrange them. Eliza stepped into that neat room to pick up the phone lying on a table in the middle. With her entrance, the chimes of wooden pendants from the ceiling mingled with the monotonous tone of the phone. She was moving slowly like an old lady compared to her noticeable youthful appearance. As she glanced at the words, "No caller ID" on the screen, which meant the provider barred the number from appearing, she immediately recognized that the caller might be someone of extraordinary authority, and perhaps one of her husband's most important friends. "Hello, who is speaking?" She answered in an unequivocally dispirited voice and waited for her caller's reply. "Good morning, Peter. I already thought you were the one calling. How are you?" She greeted him in the same sad voice, but with a miserable attempt to blend it with some stagey cheerfulness. "Yes, he's here." Eliza again listened to Peter's reply over the phone, alarmed by the tension in his voice. "I will hand him the phone right away. Just a moment, please." She replied and left the room in a way that seemed faster than she had entered. She muted the phone and headed to the bedroom where he was still in their bed, asleep. "Wake up, Josh, it's Peter on the phone." She called him and then leaned over her sleepy husband to wake him up, resting with one hand on the bed while handing him the phone with the other. "It sounds important. His voice is worrying." Despite the muted sound, she whispered. Josh could hardly open his eyes. With laziness, he took the phone from her hand with a grateful look at his wife. "Hello, Peter. How are you, my friend?" he answered in a sleepy voice. "I am sorry to wake you up this way, Josh." Peter's voice came across the other line. "No, it's okay, my friend. What's wrong?" "Your voice is alarming," Josh replied. He lifted his sturdy body and straightened his back, with his eyes widely opened, when he heard the unsettling voice of his close friend answering him. Although he still did not know the reason for that wake-up call, anxiety had already seeped into him. Peter, who worked with him for several years on their project, and throughout their long close friendship thenceforth, was always a quiet and well-mannered man. Even in the tensest of situations, he maintained his calmness and low tone of voice with the fitter and most courteous demeanor ever. "Frankly, I have some news. I do not know whether good or bad for you," Peter answered. He did not wait for Josh and continued. "You know, we have been tracking Noah's Ark II since it left our exosphere. I managed to suppress information about its escape from Earth from reaching our superiors' ears to avoid raising any investigation. I took advantage of all the existing mayhem and had support from some of my connections." "Yes, Peter, I know this well. You already told me that before. What happened?" Josh interrupted him nervously. "We have lost contact with Noah's Ark." Peter acknowledged it directly, forced by Josh's assertive manner. Silence took over, with Eliza anxiously and impatiently trying to figure out what this phone conversation was all about. "It is good news, Peter," Josh quickly broke the brief silence. "It means that they have already passed the Heliopause." "Sure, that is what I concluded, of course," Peter concurred, not wanting to disappoint Josh. For someone with his scientific background, it could mean something else. He tried to feign some calmness in his response. However, this did not deceive Josh. "Then what else, Peter? Why do you sound so anxious?" he asked at once. "There is some bad news, Josh. I am now talking to you from NASA's secret facility, and we have just finished a stormy meeting," he replied without hesitation. "It's about to happen." Josh froze for a few seconds. Instead of responding, he hung up the call while glancing at his anxious wife. "They are safe," he said to her, smiling tenderly. "They have crossed the Heliopause." "Then what is the bad news?" she asked. He looked her in the eyes and said no word. Then he settled for taking a deep breath and clung to her tightly, clasping his hands with hers gently